Welcome to the What Now podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Powers. Follow along as I figure out how to go from feeling lost and at a crossroads in my life to hopefully, eventually, being found. If you have ever felt like you needed a change or pivoting from your current experience is necessary, but you just don't know how, join me. Wanderers are always welcome. Welcome back to What Now, a podcast for Lost and Found. This is your host, Amanda, and I am so excited. This week, we've got Eli Weinstein on our show. He is a licensed clinical therapist in social work. He has a no BS background and personality, here to make psychology and therapy an approachable experience for all people, individuals, couples, and even offers coaching services. He has helped youth prior to starting his personal business and now runs content creation and is the host of his own podcast, The Dude Therapist. So everybody, please welcome Eli.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Eli, for my listeners who may not know who you are or they haven't had a chance to listen to your podcast yet, could you kind of give us a quick background about you and your practice or the work that you focus on in the mental health space?
Yeah, so I'm a therapist. I live in Las Vegas. Been here for about 2 years. Grew up in New York majority of my life. Married for almost 9 years with a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old and a 9-month-old puppy that is making life very interesting. And I have a private practice where I usually work with ages around 18 and 20 to about 45, specifically focused on relationships, parenting, and anxiety. But I work with anything and everything in between. But those are my passions and specialties, are relationships and parenting. I've been a therapist for almost 8 years, 9 years, basically as long as I've been married, and love what I do. I say it every day. I'm so blessed and lucky to be a therapist. I love it. It is difficult and hard, but I don't know if I can do anything else, honestly. So this is what I'm in, I'm stuck. I love it.
No, that's good. A lot of people end up picking careers that they hate, but they stick with it for so long because they think that that's like, well, this is what I was told I was supposed to do, and I guess this is fine.
A lot of my friends who are in finance fall in that category. A lot of my friends in the accounting world.
No, and it's good money, and accounting's a guaranteed, industry, right? Like people always need somebody else to help them with their taxes or help them, set up their finances. So I guess it's a good one, but you definitely have to love numbers.
Yeah, but for sure.
Very cool. Is there anybody else in your family that's a therapist, or like, did you always want to be a therapist growing up? No.
Yeah. So I've got no one in my family in the mental health therapy world. I've always wanted to be in the helping world with humans. I love people. And so for me, it was going to be either a doctor, something of that nature, right? Where you deal with humans on a very deep, real level and help them at a very honest, vulnerable place. But I am not a bookworm. I am now with things that I want to read, but I'm not a bookworm to remember details and memorize things. So I didn't think I had the patience or commitment to be in school for 10 to 15 years to go that route. So I paid attention and asked a lot of questions to people who were in the therapy world. I had an amazing professor, Dr. Alan Perry, back in undergrad, who kind of guided me in a way of psychology versus clinical social worker. And to me, it just suited my skills regarding school. What would best suit me so I can be successful through school? And with ADHD and all those challenges, it was the best avenue for me to be able to be as successful as I could be. And I'm really happy I made that choice.
No, that sounds like having the right support system in your life made that decision easier. And people could give you an honest opinion about it too. They didn't like just try and butter you up to convince you to go in one direction or the other. So that's...
People were like, don't do therapy, you make no money. And I'm like, okay. Mm-hmm. And then I had professors who were like, they're idiots. Here's how you make money. And so, you get the people from both sides of the coin in any profession,
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. And that's good that you're happy with the decision that you ended up with. And
depends on the day.
Did you ever imagine that you would be here at this point? If you could look back and talk to would college you believe that you'd be here now in Vegas with kids and your own podcast and everything?
Definitely not in Vegas.
Yeah.
But everything else, yes. Because I've always wanted to be married with kids. I've always wanted to have a family. It was definitely a journey. My wife and I had to go through IVF and infertility to have kids, so it was a struggle, and definitely a battle to have that dream and an opportunity. But the podcast came out of COVID boredom, and I'm not a good writer. I'm a better speaker. Where it's taken me and connections it's made, I did not see that happening. But so far, it's been just like you said before we got on. It's been a hobby and a joy that I really like. It gives me that
Yeah.
creative energy that hypes me up throughout the day or throughout the week. If it turns into explosive awesomeness, I'm there for it. If it doesn't, it's still fun. So I did see certain things happening, and hopefully more things continue to happen.
Yeah. So when did you said you started that during COVID, right?
Yeah, yeah. I was
Okay.
in
Yeah.
the West Coast. I moved in with my in-laws because we're all on lockdown, so might as well be in the West Coast and not an apartment in Queens and New York.
Of course.
And I was ending work at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, West Coast time. And I was just sitting on my butt. And I'm not good at sitting on my butt. It's just not my skill set. I do like to relax. I'm not going to say I don't like to relax and maybe take some naps here and there. But I
Of
had one
course.
kid. Someone else was taking care of my kid. We were doing things every day. And I'm like, you know what? What else can I do? So I started looking into podcasting, and it's been really fun since.
What have you learned about yourself since starting your show and your business?
It's really taught me a lot of patience, of just seeing what could happen. And a huge two-part lesson, I would say, is the skill of reaching out and being vulnerable, asking someone to be on a show, and the other side of it, which is the continued rejection of no's and not right nows. So it's been a great lesson of learning that you're okay when someone says no, and you're also okay when you just send an email asking for a yes. And you never know who's going to say yes, when, and how. But I'm a big proponent of shooting your shot, because if you never shoot it, you don't know. And if you
Sure.
never shoot the shot, it's always a no. So that's a huge lesson I've taken from this experience.
Yeah. Did you ever? I've made plenty of mistakes when I first started out, like either accidentally not hitting record, or I'd get one person's video but not the other person. So then I could only hear audio but not capturing anything that was going on. And it's kind of like, oh, dang, now how do I reuse this, or what do I do? Did you ever make a mistake, and what did you learn from it?
It just happened recently. About 2 months ago, I recorded with a wonderful human being, a therapist who's in the sex therapy world. And
Okay.
I recorded it, and I have no idea where the recording is. I have no idea. So I texted her. I messaged her. I said, hey, I lost your recording. Can we redo it? She goes, yeah, that's happened to me many times. Don't worry, I got your back. Right? So what I've learned is that even when you make a mistake, people are pretty kind about it. The other mistake I've made has been the idea of lack of patience. So bothering people. Hey, can you be on the show? 2 days later, hey, you haven't answered, be on the show. 2 days later, hey, can you be on the show? And that constant annoyance, I was just so hyped with so much energy and so excited that I didn't
Right.
give people a chance, which did burn some bridges. And they're like, okay, you're coming on too strong. Can you please back off a little bit? So those were like the tour mistakes I've made. The other ones is just when it comes to my podcast, or even the way I try to live my life and run my practice, I'm not here to do it the best. That's not my role. I'm here to do
Sure.
it the best that I can do it. So if there's hums and mums and the noise isn't perfect and the sound isn't that great, but I got the episode out, I'm very proud of myself. So it is the mistake was trying to be perfect and getting the perfect website and getting the perfect this and the perfect that. That pressure was a big mistake that I made in the beginning.
I definitely still put a lot of pressure on myself sometimes too, where I want to get at least one episode out a week, but sometimes since I'm still working full time somewhere else, that's harder to do. And so I don't always get it out on the day it's supposed to come out. So then I'm like, I'm behind. You know what? They're going to notice. And what's the truth? Nobody noticed. Nobody cared. They're just, if they want to listen, they'll listen. And if not, I just keep it moving. So that's a good reminder. I appreciate that even somebody that's as skilled as you are from learning everything now, like you're still being like, you know what? It's okay. Don't stress it. So I appreciate that. What about for your business before you started the podcast? And I'm assuming you were doing probably more in-person therapies and then had to adjust because of COVID. How did that go for you? And what were some kind of the pros and cons of switching to virtual.
Yeah, I will say that I was working at a clinic at the time. So I didn't have my own private practice. I've only had a practice for about 2.5 years,
Okay.
almost 3 years, just because of licensure and waiting for that higher licensure to be able to open my own private practice and take insurance and all that jazz. But there was a two-part thing. I do miss the in-person energy, very much so. But I will say the ability to access people quicker, make it more accessible to human beings. I remember when I used to work in a clinic in Queens, in New York, people wouldn't be able to show up because of traffic or a train issue or a bus issue. There's no issue like that right now. There's no excuse to not be able to show up except for I'm sick or something came up. There's no I'm stuck in traffic and I'm 20 minutes late. You got to hop on your computer or hop on a phone call, right? So it's a lot more
Right.
easy to get treatment. Is it the same? No. Does it mean that it doesn't help? It does help because you're talking to someone. But if you want that in person, it's still happening. It's not like it's not happening. It's just that the accessibility is something that's so beautiful. But the thing that's very much lacking is that energy of being in a room with someone and reading their body language and picking up on nuances. But I would dress the same way. I'm wearing, a t-shirt and joggers or jeans. That's how I want to dress as a therapist. So I'm still, I'm not wearing just my underwear and t-shirts. I'm not doing, so to each their own. But it really has become a beautiful door that's opened to so many people getting help in an easier way, a faster way, and in a way that meets them where they're at in their day, which is awesome.
Yeah. If there was another person who was hoping to become their own licensed clinical social worker and they wanted to open their own practice, what advice would you give them?
First of all, learn about business. I don't know anything about business. So learn about business, learn what it means to run a business. That means legal, taxes, all those financial parts. Invest in a website that makes you look professional and approachable. Whatever vibe or energy you want, right? A website is a huge focus point where people go, oh, this guy or this girl, they look like they know what they're doing, even though you might not, but you look it. So that helps a lot. Number 2 is find the niche or the focus that you really love or want to work in and go head first into that. You can always change your focus another time. The third thing is find your voice, find your energy, find how you want to be a therapist, because me versus someone else are very different, even though we might be the same background, same school, same teachers, professors, same internships. I'm me, and you need to find your voice for yourself. And when it comes to the last thing, it is very overwhelming to run a private practice. There's finances that go into it regarding paying for this service and that service. Do your job the best that you can. Don't worry about treatment plans and note taking so much. Do your best, write it simply, get it done. And on top of it, if you can find help, whether it's through a system, through AI, maybe if it's a few dollars a month that takes care of, billing, or don't stress yourself out with all that stuff. There's so many things in place that can take it off of your plate where you have more bandwidth to give to your clients and to yourself. Don't try to do it all yourself. You will burn out. That's where I would start.
Yeah, fabulous advice there. Especially don't avoid burnout, because you just started your own dream and your new path. It would be terrible for you to get immediately overwhelmed and then quit or go, I can't do this. And the truth is you can. It's going to take a lot of hard work and
It's a
to
learning curve.
Yeah, the learning curve. And that's great that there's extra technology available for you to have, especially if you're a solopreneur like that and you're running your own office. Well, let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned finding your niche and finding your voice. What inspired you to focus mostly on relationships and parenting and anxiety in particular? I know different therapists specialize in different techniques and stuff as well. So what inspired you to follow the path that you're on now and help those particular types of clients? And what particular therapies do you use? What techniques or specialty do you have?
Yeah, I love this question. So for me, I love love. I love relationships. And to me, relationships are not just love, but also friendships and family. It's such an integral part of our life. It's everywhere you look, relationships exist. Everywhere you turn, you are in a relationship with yourself or with other people. So to me, relationships, it comes down to so much of how we live our life and how we view and perceive the world and what impacts us for the better or for the worse. So to me, I just love the impact that relationships have. Also, I love being married. But I also realize that we get told a lot of mistakes and myths. And sometimes there's a lot of simple things that are so attainable for us that we have not seen, have not been told, have not experienced when it comes to relationships that can shift so many things to be more beautiful and fulfilling than a struggle. When it comes to parenting, it really came out of the fact that I'm a dad and did not see a lot of focus on dadhood and fatherhood and that emotional stability, that struggle, that balance of life, how to dive into that. So that's where the passion comes from. I hope to write a book one day on fatherhood and parenting. And when it comes to anxiety, I mean, I say this, I'm a very sassy person when it comes to mental health. Every therapist should be diving into anxiety. It should be part of your repertoire because anxiety is stress extreme, right? So we all have stress. We all struggle with that on a daily basis, depending on what and how our life is. And anxiety is something that can be very debilitating, something that I've struggled with in the past, and something that is a very powerful tool to learn from, and something that can be very crushing when we don't do it and deal with it in a better way. So those three things are something that I think are just so integral to so many parts of our lives and something that I just love and have experienced myself that I just want to help more people with.
Since you brought up having anxiety yourself, how has therapy helped you address those particular concerns? Because I'm sure you probably want to have the mask on of like, I have it together. You should trust me as your therapist. You don't want to have an anxiety attack or something in the middle of a therapy session. So what are you doing to address those particular things for yourself, and how are you helping your clients address it as well?
Yeah, so thank goodness I haven't had any anxiety attack during session. It doesn't mean that I don't get anxious or stressed because of a session. And that is a work that I have to do individually, whether it's countertransference because of a client or things of that nature. But my anxiety, I've always been like an anxious kind of person, whether it's with traveling or with doing things or just overthinking things. It's always been part of my ADHD kind of route of life. But I had a massive panic attack when my daughter was born, about 2 months into her life, about 5 years ago. And it crushed me. I thought I was dying. It was terrible. So I had two within that year, and it really woke me up to the reality that I needed to take care of myself differently. So I started going to therapy, been in therapy for about 4 years on and off, depending on where I've lived and what access I had to certain people that I trusted or wanted to work with. And the one thing I will say is that if you are going into therapy believing that the therapist has it all together, you're wrong, because every therapist is a human and they got their stuff. Now, they might be better at putting and compartmentalizing it to a place where they can show up for you the way you need, and when it's over, deal with their own things. But sometimes they can't. And you're trying to deal with a human to human relationship. If you're looking for that mirror or that like that cold statue-esque type of person, go back to Freud, right? That's what it was. It was that style of, I am above you, I'm better than you, I know more than you, and how does it make you feel? But in reality, humans are humans, whether they're a therapist, a doctor, a dietitian, a marketing expert, or whatever their profession is. Just because a doctor is a doctor doesn't mean they never get sick, right? That would be impossible.
Right.
But a therapist has a brain and emotions and feelings and life and stress. So to me, it makes me a better therapist because I understand what it's like to go through experiences of mental health struggle differently for each person. But I get what that feeling of loneliness or that feeling of fear, that feeling of worry can do to a person. I don't want to work with someone who maybe hasn't experienced something real as a human. And to me, therapy has been a place to go to, as a place for comfort, has been a place of great conversations and understanding myself a little bit deeper, someone to kind of put me in my place sometimes. And it's been a wonderful journey, and who knows where it will take me.
Yeah, I'm very glad to hear that the work that you're putting in and the efforts that you've made to do your own therapy on the side have been beneficial, and it actually makes you a better therapist in and of itself, because you've worked on yourself and you can use actual examples and share that within reason, of course, because I'm sure you have boundaries that you have to follow with all of your clients, but that if you can find a way to empathize with more people, you can probably have a better chance of building those human connections like what you've talked about that you prefer to have. And I think it ends up making you more effective and hopefully making the treatments that you offer also more effective. So that's really good.
Yeah. And also, we can't do it alone. So if anyone thinks that they got it, sometimes you do and sometimes you don't, and that's okay. I'm not saying that everyone has to be in therapy, but it doesn't mean that therapy is a bad thing, because we need help. Everyone needs help. And it might not be our partner's ability or responsibility to help us in a way that a therapist can. So we also have to realize where energies lie and where we might need the help, even if it's for a short time. We all need help somehow. And that might just be a therapist to help you kind of get back into the swing of things, or a place that is healthier where you might not need that help for that time being.
Yeah, I think getting the objective outsider's perspective can help for sure, especially if your friends might be tired of hearing it, or your partner might be tired of hearing it, or whoever you normally confide in has hit their limit in terms of, this is as far as I think I can help you. I encourage you to go somewhere else. I think that's the most loving thing you can say to somebody, is I do support you. I wish I knew how to help you, but I can't. Like, I think you should try X, Y, or Z. So that's a really great reminder for anybody that might be listening. So let's talk about the parenting aspects of your skill sets and your specialty. I know a lot of your social media posts actually often focus on empowering parents and strengthening their own relationships, because parenthood, as you know, being a father, has multiple seasons, and you kind of ebbs and flow with you being confident with yourself and yet sometimes not confident about being a dad. So I'm curious, what was the best parenting advice you ever received? And that can be either before or after becoming one, but what was your best advice that you received? And now that you are one, what's the best advice you would like to give?
So the best parenting advice that I received recently from a colleague of mine was the idea of stop trying to over explaining, over parenting, and over involving or overwhelming your kids. Because a lot of times we think we need to jump in, we need to do everything for our kids, we need to take care of this and take care of that, and explain till the end of the world why, what, who, where, and how. And sometimes we need to simplify it and step back a little bit and let them learn, as well as simplify so that we don't get so overwhelmed by being so on so much. The advice that I would give, and it's not something that's new, but something that I really care about and am passionate about, is parenting is very hard. Learn what you can, take in as much as you can, and then tailor it to your family and specifically each kid that you might have. Because in the end, you just have to do your best. And some days that means you kept your kid alive, they ate and went to bed. Some days that means you had the best adventures with your kids and they were laughing and smiling and there was so much joy. And sometimes the beginning of the day is really rough and the end of the day is magical. We have to be okay with that and know that we are trying. And the fact that you care and the fact that you're showing up, that means that you're an amazing parent. The fact that you keep coming back and showing up means you're an amazing parent. So just keep showing up the best that you can. You're going to make mistakes, learn from it, and do better. But don't not show up just because you might have faltered. Keep showing up, and it will work out, whatever that means for each kid and each family.
I love that, the keep showing up. I feel like it's a universal phrase that anybody at any point in time has to just remind themselves. Like, you're never going to have it perfect because you're a human, and that's okay. But if you keep showing up and keep being willing to learn from whatever mistakes or lessons are available to you, then that's how you grow. That's how you improve. That's how you get better at it. That's how you get more confident with whatever it is that you're trying to go for, and including parenthood.
And I have so many examples of that, but like, I'll give you a quick example that literally just happened yesterday. My daughter had a massive, massive meltdown because she didn't want to wear sneakers to school. She wanted to wear sandals, and it's against the school rules to wear sandals. because they're going to get hurt. They're running around, recess, all that kind of stuff. And we just bought 2 new, really, in my mind, cute, adorable sneakers that she helped me pick out online together.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, no, I don't like this. I don't like that. I don't like that. We had to get to school. So what happens? The intensities are high. She's literally screaming at me saying I'm the worst dad ever because I'm making her wear sneakers, right? I pick her up, hold her, put the sneakers on while she's trying to kick my face off, hold her. Now, I'm 6'2", about 240 pounds. I'm a big guy.
Right.
And I put her in the car while my wife is dealing with my son, who, for some reason, my 2-year-old was very good and very well behaved. And he walked in and he's like, doing his little cute walk. He gets in the car. I buckle my daughter in and I look at her and say, after all the intensity, and me, of course, I'm like, did I hurt her? What if I was too aggressive? Maybe I should have let her, talk to her a little more. All the things that are going through my head, I look at her and say, I love you and I can't wait to see you later when I pick you up. And she's screaming at me, I hate you, you're the worst. Screaming, right? Guess what?
Mm-hmm.
I pick her up. I go, hey, Ricky, are you okay? She goes, Daddy, I missed you all day. I love you so much, right? And then all of a sudden you go, okay, so we're okay. Right? The morning felt like I just destroyed our relationship because I forced her to wear sneakers. And she's screaming, I hate you and you're the worst dad ever. Right? But guess what happens? I show up. I've been there since day one and I'm not going anywhere. Whether you say you hate me, you push me away, but guess what? They come back because they know you're there. They know they're safe to do that with you. And they know that when they want love, they get it. Because I'm not going to be like, well, you said you hated me, so now I don't love you. Right. No, I love you. I'm here. I know you had a rough morning. I don't know what was going through your head, and I don't understand what was going through your head. And my goal is not to understand. My goal is to love you no matter what and give you care and concern and compassion. Because I don't understand why you don't want to wear the sneakers that you loved yesterday. That makes no sense to me. No sense. So empathy is not the goal. It is sympathy. I care about you. I love you, period. If I can't understand, even better. But my goal is not to understand. My goal is to show up and give you love. And that happens every other day, Like we went to Zion, right? It just, stuff happens. So you have to just show up, know that you are doing your best. And I promise you, show up with love and care the best you can. You're going to be upset sometimes. You're going to scream at your kids sometimes. You're going to get overwhelmed sometimes. You're not going to be at your best sometimes, but you showed up later and you showed up before and you're going to show up again. And that's what really sticks with kids.
I think I'm glad that you clarified that a bit as well, too, because absolutely no day is going to be perfect. And I started to think about, oh no, did I ever do that to my parents? Did I kick them in the face because I wouldn't wear their shoes?
Of course you did.
Oh yeah. And it's like, oh yeah, you did, Amanda, because I used to not want to take medicine and I had very severe allergies when I was growing up, and my mom and dad used to like wrestle me down, and at least they would tell me they'd have to wrestle me down, one on legs, one on arms, and the other one would use like the horse pill, like tranquilizer looking thing to get it into the back of my throat. And I'd like scream the whole time. And my mom, they were working full time. I think my mom was doing like 50, 60 hour, if not more weeks at that point when I'm like 3 or 4. My brother had not been born yet. And she told me, she begged me one night, was just like, honey, I can't take it anymore. Like I'm working, I'm tired. You need this. You won't take it at daycare. You have to take it at daycare too. Like, what will you do? Well, what can I do to get you to take it? And I was like, well, I want the yellow dress from Beauty and the Beast. I want Belle's dress. And she was like, okay. So we went to the mall and we bought at the Disney store when that used to still exist. We went and got that dress. And from then on, I took my medicine, like she said, and that was really it. And she's like, I can't believe I did this for months when I could have just bought you the dress.
I could have bought you the freaking Belle dress.
Yeah.
No, but like my son has a lot of, like, the son that, got sick that we had to cancel, unfortunately, and reschedule. Thank you so much for being so flexible. Course. He has a lot of like snot. He has allergies. We do something called a nose bot. It's this electrical, like it sucks the boogers out of their brain. Oh my gosh, it's awesome. I wish
there was an adult one for that.
There's no adult one. I wish there was. I know, it'd be amazing. But he fights it. but we
Oh,
still need to do it because it helps him. And we're
right.
not bad parents because he's screaming and crying, but we need to pay attention
Because
when it's
there's
just too much and we have to stop because it's not worth the suffering
the
for the
fight.
success of his nose being clear, but we still got to do it. It's not
Mhm.
fun to hold your kid down while they're getting shots at
Yep.
the doctor. It doesn't mean you're a bad parent. You're helping them. So it's that perspective that I'm doing my best as a parent and I
Sure.
love them and I'm trying to make sure that they're safe and
Mhm.
healthy and okay.
No, that's good. In particular for parents, if there's a parent that's struggling or feeling lost or having a hard time with their own identity or handling this new phase of their life, what are some signs or symptoms that might be occurring where you would say, hey, this, and this keep happening to you? I think you need to approach professional help now. Like, is there a threshold or any particular signs parents should be watching for them to go, oh, okay, I need to go and do this officially?
So, number one thing I would say, and there's a lot of research on this, and there's some great accounts on this, and a lot of people who talk about this, but dysregulation, when I'm emotionally dysregulated, where I get triggered very quickly for no apparent reason, and I react very aggressively for something that is very small and simple. It means that my nervous system is so ready to implode because I'm not doing okay and I'm not taking care of myself. Right. So if I sit down to dinner, let's say, and this happens like every night, sit down to dinner and my kid goes, Daddy, can I have some water, please? And I go, you ought to be kidding me. I just sat down. I'm hungry. And I start screaming. My daughter just asked for water.
Mm-hmm.
What's so damaging about that? What's the problem? I am overwhelmed. I had a hard day. I am in my own head, right? Or your kid throws food on the floor for the 18th time in the week. Is it really the biggest deal? No. It is freaking annoying though. But if I go over my kid and I start screaming and ripping into my kid, that's because I'm not doing okay. I'm dysregulated. We as adults need to be the mature adults. We cannot have tantrums at our children. And if we are, it means that we're not doing okay. So pay attention to dysregulation, how quick you are jumping the gun, how quick you are jumping to aggression, how quick you are getting overwhelmed and then expressing it. And that's number one. Number two, your energy level, right? I'm not saying that you can't be tired. You are going to be tired. You're working, dealing with kids. Life is hard. But if you feel that you are just so lethargic and you are so sluggish, maybe it means taking care of yourself differently, eating, sleeping, going to the gym. And number three is the connection you have with your partner, right? If you feel distant and you
Mm-hmm.
feel that you have lost that connection or that beautiful back and forth, and all it is someone, a client of mine many years ago said to me that her relationship felt like we were just downloading information. What are you doing today? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? Where are you going to be? Who's taking the kids? If that's all your relationship is and you don't have that love and that connection, it means you guys need to reconnect. It doesn't mean that anything's falling apart, but it means you need to reconnect. So the first thing, if you're not doing okay, is dysregulation. It's a very clear sign. Aggression, intensity, and isolation, right? The second thing is how you are taking care of yourself. Pay attention to that. And number three, how you're paying attention to your partner and how they're paying attention to you. Those three things are the main focuses, I would say, that if you're not doing okay or up to a standard that you hope, it doesn't mean that it's hurtful, but that you're just not doing a way that you want to be. Go talk to someone. See if they have an outside perspective, because maybe you're actually doing just fine and you have a hard, view of yourself. Or maybe you aren't doing okay and they can give you that help or those tips or those kind words and compassion and grace that you can find something that does help.
Wonderful. I'm also really glad you brought up the partnership thing too, because it's, again, outside of being a single parent, ideally you do have a partner that's helping you raise the kids and run the family and share the workload. But when that gets dysregulated too or out of whack, it can feel like really hard to get it back on track too sometimes. So I'm glad that you brought that up, and maybe we could dive a bit deeper into that, especially since my show in particular is about having self-loss issues and identity crises. And sometimes that can be brought on, or at least of my friends that are mothers. I know that they've struggled in the past, not all of them with like postpartum depression or anything or anxiety concerns, but they just feel like they've lost parts of who they are or who they once were, and they have a hard time grieving through that and figuring out what their new role is. And so I was curious if maybe we could talk a bit about your perspective on romantic relationships and how we can maintain our self and our identity, but still keep our relationship going with our partner, and if that's even possible, and what's the best way to do that. So how can we best maintain our own self and identity when we're either, some people may be dating, they're either a couple now or they're married, but what would you say to a client that's looking for help with that?
This is my bread and butter right here. This is where it's at. So I love that you asked this kind of question of how to have that parenting side as well as the relationship side coexist. So to me, it's a no-brainer. You need to have individuality within yourself. If you lose yourself, everything falls apart. Because you are important, and your level of health and success and self-care carries through every part of your daily life with your kids and with your partners. You need to have individuality. It means having a hard conversation with your partner about what you feel is lacking within those needs. They're not easy conversations, but they're a must-have, right? If I feel I need an hour or two a week to go to the gym, how can we make that happen? If I need to go to bed early because I need sleep, that means how can we make that happen? It's not selfishness. It's beautiful and a connection to yourself and what your needs are. The other thing I'll say is you must make time for the unit, right? We have the individual that's beautiful and powerful, but we also need the power of the unit. And what I would say is it doesn't have to be once a week. It doesn't have to be a date night. If it is, power to you. Awesome. Amazing. Yeah. If you have the time and you have the finances to do that, I am so jealous and so proud of you. If it's not just 30 minutes, okay? There's a statistic that recently came out that said that on average, dual income families with at least 2 kids only get 35 minutes a day with each other, okay? That is not enough time. How are you building a relationship in 30 minutes? By the time 30 minutes is up, you said, how was your day? How was your day? What is going on? How are you doing? What happened with the kids? What happened with the kids? It's over. That's it. It's over. So it means maybe, and I'm going to get sassy for a second.
Sure.
Turn the damn TV off. Put the phone away. And I'm speaking to myself too. It means taking out a board game if you can't go out. It means sitting and talking. Maybe you read the same book and have a book club together. Whatever, tickles your fancy. Maybe it means when the kids go to bed, you go and have sex or intimacy. It doesn't have to be the perfect time. It doesn't have to be so spontaneous. Maybe you schedule it, whatever it might be. Make the time. If you want it, make the effort. Don't make excuses. It is hard. Everything is hard. Whether it means taking care of yourself and going to the gym, eating right, taking your vitamins, taking your medicine, whether it means trying to care for your partner and for yourself, it is all hard at all points. But if it matters, talk about with your partner how to make it more accessible and doable. Be real with each other. Be honest with each other. Talk about what you need, maybe what's happened, and adjust to what now changed versus when you were first dating or first married or first together or the first few months of the kid or the last 6 months with the kid or whatever has now changed. Don't stick into, well, I said this 8 years ago, I can't say something else. No, speak up. You have changed. You have evolved. That means your needs have evolved. Don't just stop. Keep trying. It is one of the hardest things you can do. And it's okay to say to your partner, I miss you. Where have we been? And it could be that you cry. It could be that you feel lost. Beautiful. Talk about it. I'm sure the other person feels it too. So don't be shy. Speak up. You matter. Your relationship matters. And I hate to say this, but I'll be very sassy again. Your kids matter, and that's great. But you matter just as much. So don't think that just because you got kids that they're the only thing that matters. It does not. Your partnership matters that much more because when your kids leave, you're with this person. So you don't want that to be a garbage relationship. You want it to be a beautiful relationship. Not magic, right? We're not talking Disneyland here. We're talking real relationship. And just do your best. Whatever you can do, try and see what works. And it could be really, really wonderful to reset and restart something. But don't forget yourself and don't forget about the unit.
That's phenomenal. I'm very glad you brought up you deserve to treat both, right? Treat the individual need, but also you went into a union for a reason. So the unit also needs attention. What similar to my previous question, what are maybe some self-loss symptoms? I know when I was going through kind of my own period of grief and disillusionment with where I was at in my life the last few years, I guess I didn't realize that it was creeping up on me, that like all of these little things had compiled up. And that's when the self-loss really hit, is when after I had already done too much and didn't address the problem till it got too bad. And then you're like, oh, yikes. How did I not see this coming? How did I not even notice where I went, or that I had left the scene, kind of a thing. So I'm curious, how have you seen self-loss manifest in either in your clients or in your own personal romantic relationships? And what can you do if you no longer recognize yourself?
So it's a very sad day when that hits you all at once.
Yeah.
It's very overwhelming. So thank you for sharing that. And I've been there before, where you look at yourself and you're like, what is this person? Like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And to me, it's very hard to see that in small increments, right? It's like when you live with someone and, you don't see the change day to day, but all of a sudden you haven't seen someone like 5 years and they go, wow, you've gained weight, or you look great, or wow, I haven't known that you did X, Y, and Z, because they're not in it every day. Mm-hmm. You're in it. You're in it. Like, you're in yourself and you're living that life. It's very meta and weird, but like, it's very hard to be cognizant of that. So what I would say is that if you're feeling kind of lost or off or something, take a baseline check. What is your baseline expectation of yourself? We're not talking above and beyond. What if I could do everything? I'm not talking, doing nothing. What's the baseline? Keep track of that. Keep track of the baseline. The second thing I would say is, then if you have a baseline, tell your baseline to your partner and check in with them once a couple of weeks, once a month. Hey, do you see any changes in me? I've been feeling really off. I haven't really felt myself. And there's a lot of things that are factors into that. It's not just mental health. We also talk about the holistic approach of the physical health, the sleep, the eating, the taking care of yourself, moving and doing all that stuff. But if you're not doing well, don't let it get so far. Talk to someone. Reach out to someone. Speak to a friend or a colleague or a family member that you're not okay. Because you don't want it to get to a point where you look at yourself and you go, who the hell is this? That's a really rough day. And it doesn't mean you can't come back from that, right? Because you can reassess who you are, reevaluate, and grow in a beautiful way. It doesn't have to be this phoenix rising from ashes, but it could just be that you change things that now make you more proud or more beautiful to yourself. Sure. But it is something that takes a lot of awareness. That's why I'm a big fan of journaling, by the way. I used to journal. I've been journaling for years, since I was like 8 years old. I had the marble notebooks. Can't read the damn thing I wrote, by the way, back in the day. I still can't read my handwriting. But
you're a therapist now. You're a doc.
Yeah, I can't read my handwriting.
It's part of the medical field. You're not supposed to know how to write.
Chicken scratches. It's terrible.
It was part of initiation. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, okay, now write your name where no one can tell it's you.
With your opposite hand.
Right? So to me, journaling is a great check-in, right?
Yeah.
So to me, journaling is just 10 to 15 minutes once or twice a week. You don't have to do it every day. Don't put the pressure. Don't put the restriction. Put the ability. Make it possible. So that is a good check-in where you kind of go, how am I feeling today? And then you can look back, where it's a self-assessment. Instead of maybe relying on someone else if you don't have that in your life, do a self-assessment. You're not an idiot. You know yourself. Maybe not to the place that you hope to be, but you know how you feel. Pay attention. Listen. Be in touch with yourself. Be in that moment and be present. Journaling can be a wonderful place to do that.
I'm glad you brought up journaling as well, because it's just another form of figuring out how to get the thoughts out, and trying to get the thoughts out can at least help you manage whatever it is that you're thinking through all day long, organizing yourself, regulate your emotions too. Because if you just need to get it out, that's one way to like set it and forget it sort of thing. So I think that that's a great option for people who may not be ready to open up yet, but they want to start processing what they are thinking through and why they're thinking that way. I'm curious for you, when you've gone through those either self-loss or identity crises, or at least concerns, how did you approach it with your partner? And what did your partner do to help you get back to where you felt like you were in a better place?
So there's been some, long nights and hard looks at myself over the years, whether it's feeling not enough, feeling less than. Like I said before with the podcast and my social media presence, it has been a test on many levels of evaluation of self and self-doubt, self-esteem, all that self stuff. Am I not good enough because I haven't grown? The podcast hasn't. I've been doing it for 4 seasons. Why haven't I gotten 1 million downloads? Like
Right.
this
Yeah.
person was on this show, but they said no to me, and all that nitpicky comparison. And it hurts. It hurts, even though it's not the biggest deal, but it hurts. So to me, having that, that struggle and the honesty that I bring with it to my partner creates connection. That's number one. Me
Okay.
being vulnerable creates connection with my partner. She's able to show up for me and support me. What the support is someone listening. Now, my wife runs a little more towards the solving kind of person. I'm more of the listener. So it is also an adjustment of telling her what you need. I need you to be a listener. I can't have the solving right now, right? And then it has brought up great conversations to have someone push back on things and feedback in a way that helps me see myself that I can't. And it has someone told me to say, I can't deal with this. You need to go get help because this is out of my comfort, out of my purview. I don't know how to help you. I love you and I want you to be okay, which has pushed me to go to therapy more in a more serious way than just like, yeah, I need therapy. So that vulnerability and honesty creates connection and depth of better conversations and more conversations, and maybe help in a way that you never got before.
Wonderful. I'm glad that you've said that too. And you said you had been married 9 years, correct? Yeah.
Almost, basically.
Almost 9 years. Yeah. And
August.
the fact that it must work, because clearly you've maintained that relationship and you've stayed connected even when it's hard or awkward or you feel ashamed or embarrassed to say that to her face or anything, and just kind of like, listen, I need to say this. Don't know how it's going to go, but I would appreciate it if you'd listen.
And that, by the way, opens the door for the other person.
Yeah.
Right? By you doing it, it creates comfort that they can do it to you too.
And you want to be reliable for your partner, and you want them to trust that if they did come to you, even with something as difficult as, I don't know who I am anymore and I don't know how to fix that, or how to even where to turn next. That's a heavy thing to say, but obviously you want it to be in a safe space like that. So I'm very glad to hear that that's the environment that you two have cultivated for each other. I am curious though, what happens when maybe that's not the case, or if you ended up having a couple that came in and they were trying to figure out, when is their relationship worth keeping and working on, when they're both kind of struggling with that kind of loss and identity issues, versus when they should walk away and kind of rediscover themselves on their own. Like, what is there a fine line between, do you stick it out and work it out, or did you both lose each other so badly that like you need to just switch?
Very, very therapist here for a second. It really depends on the person, right? It's a very individualized couples thing. I have seen couples come through my office that look on the outset like they should be breaking up right now, but once you dive deeper, realize they just need to be connected more, right? And then you have other ones who feel that they're doing okay, and then the deeper you dive, they realize that they can't stand each other, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at the research, and depending on which avenue you go, whether it's the Gottman Institute or you go through Dr. Sue Johnson, EFT, emotionally focused therapy, there are different avenues to kind of dive into the success or health of a relationship. But in reality, the biggest thing that I've seen is the success of a relationship is if I respect and trust and love you, and I'm willing to keep showing up and lean in towards the needs that you're having, and you lean in towards mine. This is not a game. This is not a winning or losing. You win or I lose. No, this is, I need to give up a little bit to lean in towards yours, and you need to give up to lean in towards me. The respect piece is, can I listen to you? Can I actually give you the time and day of grace and comfort and sustainability that I show up, right? That's respect. I respect you because I show up for you. And the idea is, do I actually want to spend time with you and care about you? Right? If I look next to me and I go, you are so freaking annoying. I can't handle you. Get out of my life. Every time you talk, oh my gosh, shut up already, right? If that's the vibe, and
Right.
it's just this disgust and this intense hatred, annoyance, frustration, it's very hard to come back to that, to all of a sudden fall back in love. But if I have communication struggles and my needs aren't getting met, or you haven't listened to me, or we've tried and it hasn't worked, that stuff is more fixable and able to be worked on. Because I still can look at you and go, I really love you and I want this to work. I want to try. I want to keep going. I want to keep pushing. I want to keep having this togetherness. That stuff is what creates success. It's when I can't and I don't want that anymore. I heard this from a great therapist. Her name is Dr. Vanessa, I think Vanessa Bennett. I don't know if she's a doctor. And John Kim. They wrote a book called It's Not Me, It's You. And it's about sometimes the evolving of a couple. That sometimes I still love you, but I just don't, this is not working. It's okay to end relationships if it's not working, but you better damn well try to see if it can. And if you've done the work and you've tried and you've gone to therapy and you've talked and had the hard conversations, and in the end you realize that we've just evolved too much, it means that it's okay to let go. But if I don't do the work and one day I go, you suck, I have better options out there, that's not a real relationship. Oh, this person's hotter. That person has more money. This person has more siblings and I want more in-laws. This person doesn't have kids and I'm done with kids. That person likes dogs and you don't. All that stuff is external.
Right.
But there is a space where you can tell, and I can't put my finger on it, but as a therapist, you can tell that the fighting and the anger and the intensity is deep pain that is something that can't let go. It's like the identity of the person and the relationship that it keeps just bringing back, and it turns into contempt and resentment, and that breaks a relationship. So there are parts that you can see from the outside or even feel from the inside that you know this is not going well.
Yeah, and I figured you'd probably say it's individual, just kind of depends, but I'm glad that you did bring that up, that there's a very different thing versus I'm annoyed with you today, but I still love you, versus you actually have deep contempt for whatever has been happening. And sometimes you finally cross the line and you may not be able to recover from that.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
There's a line I heard years ago. My mom told me this years ago. You don't always like the person, but do you love them? Right? I always make this joke on podcasts. It's not a joke, but I make this line on podcasts or with clients. Right now, if you asked me how many things today frustrated you about your wife, I can probably come up with 2 or 3. And it's only 12 o'clock right now in the West Coast.
Right.
Because little things can be annoying. You didn't put this dish away. You cut me off while I was speaking. You assumed this and this. Your ego got in the way versus what I wanted. The kids bothered me and you didn't step in. Like, I can come up with a litany of things, but I still love her. So that overpowers, and I still want to be with her. I still care about her. So yeah, the annoyances, okay, fine. Can I deal with that and suck it up and be able to go, this is not worth ruining the relationship over small annoyances. I need to let them go for the betterment of my relationship and the love that I have for the relationship. It's okay to be frustrated, and it's okay to voice those frustrations. But is that really what's going to ruin it? Because my wife left 3 water bottles on the table that are empty and she can just throw them out? Really? That's what's going to ruin the relationship?
Oh no, it's when she gets up to go to get the 4th one, then you're like, never mind, I'm leaving.
Done.
I'm over it. Weinstein. Okay. Well, to wrap up, just a couple of final questions. These are things I usually ask most of my guests. I'm curious to know, how do you define success, and what does success look like to you?
I saw that question you sent me, and I've been grappling with what to say. But to me, success is how you look at yourself today, right? Not yesterday and not tomorrow. What is on my achievements today that I am trying to work on? And if I can knock them out, if I can do the things that I've committed to myself, that is success. To me, also, success is fulfillment, right? So if I feel full, in my day. At the end of the day, I can look at myself and I go, wow, that was a full day. I can be successful. It's not about the money, which would be
Right.
nice, and it's not about the fame, which would be fun, maybe. Um, but if I can look at the end of the day and say, I spent time with, this is just for me.
Sure. Yeah.
I did my job and helped people today. I connected with my kids and I connected with my wife. That is a day where I feel that I can put my head on my bed, my pillow, and close my eyes and go to sleep well. It doesn't mean that I achieved every dream possible. But did I work a little bit closer to it? Did I check off one little thing off that list? Then yes, that's a successful day. And some days there's more success. And some days there's not the extra success, but the basic foundation of success for me, which is my family, myself, and my health, and my kids. It's a good day.
I love that. That's very important. If you can get the 1% or so, I've heard before, if you can get the 1% better each day, that's still progress. That's still you getting towards your goal, even if it's something so small that you can't see it happening yet. The 1% build up and build up and build up. So
The
that's
line
great.
that I was thinking of to say, the one liner cool tagline is, you can't do everything today. You can do something. So do something your best.
I like that. Yeah, that's a good one too.
Right.
Yeah, nailed it. Oh, right. What would you say has been your greatest achievement?
I'm going to go really cliche and cheesy right now.
It's
To
okay.
me, it's my kids.
Yeah.
I can have all the fame and fortune in the world, which I don't. But if my kids they come back to my home and they want to spend time with me and they're there for me and I'm there for them, it is a wonderful life. Also with my wife, that's my family, right? My full
Yeah.
family, not just
Yeah.
my kids.
Mhm.
But my kids being in my life is a huge achievement. And I don't really know if I've had any bigger achievement or greater achievement yet. I don't know if anything can beat that because it's been such a crazy journey of ups and downs and a commitment of self and sacrifice that I don't know if there's anything else that I've ever sacrificed for more than my kids and my family.
Oh, absolutely. And that's not a cliche. I've had several guests that are also married with kids, and they say the exact same thing. It's the best part of their life because that's where they've grown the most and it's taught them the most. So I think that that's a perfectly fine answer if it's your achievement. So
Yeah.
I'm curious, as a business owner, father, podcaster, you wear a lot of hats. What are your goals for this year? What's something you're working on?
So I'm working on being more kind to myself about what I view success is. It's been a battle of doubt and is this going to work and what is this going to mean and how is it going to look and what's going to happen. So to me, it's the hat that I really need to start wearing a lot more is being kinder to myself and more caring, that I'm doing what I can with what I have.
Mhm.
And it's a very hard pill to swallow some days, because you want to do more and you want to be on the TV shows and the media and you want to have the big speaking opportunities and the sponsors of a show and really making big sweeps in the nation of
Yeah.
impact. That is a goal of mine. But the more practical goal that's number one, be more kind to myself on a daily basis. And number two, I'm starting to dabble with writing my books. Just
Excellent.
start. No pressure. I have no end in sight of when it needs to come out. I'm going to open a Google Doc and just start writing when I can. And if something happens, great. And if nothing happens, I'm still working on it little by little. That's the goal.
I love that. And you're getting the drafts done. And I remember being in school, and sometimes the easiest thing to do was just to like word vomit as much as you could out. It didn't have to look good, but get the first draft done. And then you feel so much more accomplished because then you're like, oh, I got a page today, or I got 5 pages, or I got
Yeah.
whatever. So that's very exciting. And I hope that your book does come out. And I'd love to have you back on the show so we could talk all about it. And
Woo-hoo! See you in
get
6
you,
years.
yeah, get you to do the hey, if I'm still doing this in 6 years, I hope I've done very well. So I hope I'll have more listeners for you to share all of your accomplishments with. So that'll be a very good thing. If you could give yourself advice 10 years ago, what would it be?
You're going to get there. I know it doesn't seem like it. You're going to open your practice. You're going to hit the markers that you're dreaming of. You just got to wait for the right time. And just because you want it really badly now doesn't mean it has to happen right now. It might not be able to or can't. with your ability, your skills, or where you are at life. But keep dreaming, keep putting yourself in the situations that can get you one step closer to that. And again, the patience thing. It's super hard and I struggle with it every day. Just breathe and be patient and be mindful of the moment and the success that you're doing right now.
Fabulous. Yeah, staying very present in what's happening in right now in today's day and age, and don't forget about what you've already accomplished too, just because it hasn't happened yet. So I like that as well. And finally, what advice would you have for people who are feeling lost in their current life or situation and they need to make a change, but they don't really know where to start?
I would start by being honest with yourself. If you feel that off or that not yourself, it's okay to struggle. It doesn't mean you have to stay in that state either. You're the only one who has that power to make the change. You, no one else. And you have it in you. It might not have felt that way in the past or hasn't felt that way now. But maybe you need a little push. So go get the help. Go online. Look at Psychology Today. Google therapist in my area and even a coach, as long as they have your best interest in mind. But you know what's a really even easier thing to do? Find a podcast to listen to that makes you feel warm inside, makes you feel seen. Go on YouTube and find episodes. Go and read books on things that you're struggling with. In this day and age, there's no excuse of access to things that can help. It might not be the jump that you need from A to Z, but it could be from A to B. So find a podcast, find a book, find an Instagram, a person on Instagram that is real, legitimate, and licensed, and someone that makes you feel seen and heard, and just take in as much information as you can, step by step every day.
I love that. I'm so glad that you came on our show, Ellie. This has been so much fun, and then I've had a great time talking with you.
No dance party question?
Oh, your dance party. Yes. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to awkwardly look at my second screen, but yes. So I did scroll very deep into your Instagram account, and I hear you do love a good dance party. So the final fun question, do you have a favorite song or a go-to song that you play to get people on the dance floor? And are you listening to any specific artists right now? Any music recommendations?
I love that question so much because when I was a kindergartner, my teacher said that all I did was dance. So I have ADHD and I love to move and dance. I am not a good dancer. I just like to feel the music, you know? And my daughter and myself and my son and my wife, we play music every night. Like in between dinner and bedtime, we want to get a little bit of the energy out. They have their own. So my daughter's favorite song is Shake It Off by Taylor Swift. She loves that song and she gets really sassy with it. To me, I've been really obsessive over Justin Timberlake's new album.
Okay.
And I love John Bellion. So anything by John Bellion or Justin Timberlake right now, I'm shaking my booty to. And it depends if I'm dancing or if I'm, or you know, the Jonas Brothers recent album, because it was made by John Bellion. It gets me moving, gets me grooving. Anything with a good, you know, pop, hip hop kind of thing going on.
Yeah,
that's my jam. But I have a very eclectic range of music that I listen to. But that would be the vibe I would say, is like that upbeat, exciting, you know, has a drop in it or has some, you know, fun moves that you can shake your booty to a little bit or have a good time and let go. It's something that can really re-energize, pump some dopamine and some serotonin and all those good things, and just smile and just let go. At the end of the day, something so beautiful and so powerful. And just to see the kids smiling and laughing and all of us being silly, there's nothing better in the world.
No, and dancing is so much fun too, though, because I saw a study, again, can't properly quote it, but a study that was done comparing like placebos and SSRIs and then various levels of physical activities that have been shown in the past to provide helpful ways to deal with depression or anxiety or, you know, get you into a better mood. And dancing in and of itself outpaced any other therapeutic option that was studied at that same time, like well above meds, well above placebo, well above like just talk therapy by itself. And so I absolutely love that. And I felt very vindicated because I also was quite the dancer all the time. Still will bust a move on my own in public and embarrass my friends.
I can't help it.
Yeah, it is. If you feel like doing it, you do it. And then for me, it's anything with reggaeton. I'm really into Spanish rap.
Really?
Oh yeah. No, I'm a huge
I
fan. I
love
just
it.
went to the Bad Bunny. Yeah, just went to the Bad Bunny concert about a week ago. By the time this podcast airs, and then tonight I'm finishing up work here, and then headed to Memphis to go to the Megan Thee Stallion concert on Thursday, the 30th. So,
Awesome.
oh yeah, I'm so excited. My friends
Awesome.
got tickets on the stage, like in the pit, so I'm going to be right there. I
Yeah,
will get sweat on me.
I embarrass my wife very often. Like there's
Yeah.
music in like a supermarket and I'll just be like, like doing one of
Mhm.
these and just
Go for it.
I
Yeah.
just can't help it. I just can't help it. And in the end, you know what? You got to live your life. Enjoy life. And if it
You
means
do.
shaking it up a little bit and just having a good time. But like sometimes I'll blast music when I do chores, like on the speakers. I have like a few speakers around
Oh,
the
yeah.
house. And it's like a requirement. I need to have speakers around me or I'm listening to music all the time or in my head. And she'll walk in and scare the bejesus out of me because like I'm not paying attention. And she'll just sit there
Oh,
and just
yeah.
laugh at me.
Because you were in
You
the
know?
zone so much. Yeah.
And
Oh,
she's like,
that's
"What are you doing?" I'm
awesome.
like, and I don't realize,
I'm just
just
living
having
my
fun,
life.
That's it. Just
Yeah,
living my
I'm
life.
trying to make the dishes more exciting. Oh,
Exactly.
wonderful. Well, Ellie, please promote yourself or tag anything or let us know the best way to contact you. If somebody wants to interact with you or work with you, what's the best way to find you?
So the best thing is, I have a website, Eli Weinstein, LCSW.com, where all my information is there. I have an Instagram, Eli Weinstein _LCSW. My podcast is The Dude Therapist because I'm a dude who's a therapist. If you want to interact with me, please don't be shy. Ask any question you want. If you want to work with me, please reach out. Again, I might not be able to help you, but I will do my best to try to find something that can. Just again, don't be shy. It's just an email. It's just a message online. I won't bite. I promise.
I love that. Yeah, anybody that needs that or is interested in working with him, please feel free to DM him and contact Ellie for any questions at all. And he'll be happy to host that and help you get into the right direction. And all of you know the same drill here. You can find me at askwhatnowpodcast@gmail.com. Like, subscribe, rate us, leave a review. Reviews always help the show so much. And I always appreciate anybody's feedback. And definitely give Ellie feedback too for his The Dude Therapist. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Podcast for the Lost. I will put all of our contact information in the show notes as well as any discount links for people. And remember, wanderers are always welcome.